market situation, don't worry. At the end of this call, you should feel confident in your decision to become a UX designer. So today we are going to be talking about the truth about tech layoffs, UX design, and you, and then the next steps of this entire process. And then I would love to open it up for a Q&A as well to answer any of your questions that you have. So to kick it off, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Ronald. I am the lead designer for Moment Studio. I am a Nielsen Norman Group UX certified designer. I have 5 years of professional design experience, 10 years of business experience. I've shipped countless of design products to happy users, helped hundreds of people like yourselves transition into UX design. And just some personal facts about myself. I love to read, I love to write, and I love to learn new languages. I also love to eat, but I hate to cook. So it is very nice to meet you in the comments there. So let's learn the truth about tech layoffs. So according to MarketWatch, over 240,000 people were laid off in 2023 alone. And I know that a lot of you have been on LinkedIn, you have seen the numbers, you've seen the people who are talking about that they've been let go from their job. And that is really scary, right? We're not going to take away from that because that is real. Amazon had the largest company headcount downsize at about 27,150, followed by Meta, which is 21,000, Accenture, 19,000. Overall, we do have some companies that were laying off as many as 85% of their workforce. And there were about like 1,183 companies that actually did lay off employees, right? And so what is the reason for this? The pandemic happened, right? It was unprecedented, everything that was going on. So a lot of people were staying at their homes. And so a lot of the funding for these digital initiatives were sort of pushed. With that, personnel were hired, people were hired to do these jobs. But afterward, when everybody started going back to work, the market conditions changed, right? And so the need for those digital products decreased and companies had to make a correction to that. Another reason for that is that due to the pandemic, inflation spiked a lot, right? And prices raised on materials, including the price of labor. We understand that during the pandemic, a lot of companies had to pay people more, as they should, but that did increase the cost of labor, and a lot of companies recognized this and made some adjustments there. And then we just have industry maturity as a whole, right? So the industry began to level out after experiencing some pretty large growth. Again, during the pandemic, people were staying home. The amount of consumption of digital products just increased a lot. And then afterward, it fell, it came back down, right? And so we are just experiencing that type of industry maturity. And overall, what you should get from that is that the tech industry grew very quickly, but it's just now correcting itself, right? Going back to where normal levels are. So according to the Securities and Exchange Commission, all those companies that laid people off, the people that they did lay off only represent about 8% of the amount of people who they hired and kept on. So Amazon increased their headcount by 743,000 in comparison to it's actually 27,000 people that they laid off, right? So if they hired 743 and they laid off 27,000, the comparison charts are just a little off. And overall, companies actually retained 20% more people than they had pre-pandemic. And so even with all of the layoffs, you do still see that people are being hired and being retained on staff. So what I want you to sort of get from that is understand that even with all of those tech layoffs and even with everything that has been happening in the tech industry, there are so many other industries that hire UX designers. It's not just tech, right? You hear that and that's what people think. But currently, think about where you work, right? Think about what industry your job is in. So healthcare, food service, retail, e-commerce, entertainment, right? The list goes on and on and on. Any website that you use, any product that you use, wherever it is that you look, every single company needs a UX designer and they hire UX designers. And so it's not just the tech industry. And so if we think about that and we think about how broad the prospects are out there for UX design and how you could be hired at a different company outside of tech, we understand that employment growth is projected to increase at 4.7 million jobs from 2022 to 2023. And so really the fastest growing industries are healthcare and social assistance at 12% growth. So are you a nurse? Are you, maybe even a doctor at some point? Do you work in healthcare? Like, what is it that you are doing right now? Followed by manufacturing, shipping, education, food and beverage, construction, stuff like that. We are going to see a 12% increase in all of that. And you should be prepared for that, because those are some really exciting statistics to understand that that is where UX design is going at this time. So the different companies that you can work for are endless. So if you're in healthcare UX, we have Johnson & Johnson, we have Pfizer, Walgreens, Cigna, right? We have, if you're in food service right now, you can work at McDonald's, you can work at Pepsi, you can work at Domino's. And hearing those types of people who are working in these different industries currently, working at McDonald's currently in the food service industry is definitely different than working at McDonald's as a UX designer, right? And so we understand that you can transition from where you are now into UX design into a different place, right? And so you have all sorts of different opportunities that are available to you at this time. So the thing is, you can finally start your new career as a UX designer. Like, understanding all of that, it is the perfect time for you to do that. So for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are a little bit confused, or maybe you're just new to the space, you can do this. So what is UX, right? Maybe you're confused, maybe you don't know. UX design, it's the process of creating products and services that provide a positive and meaningful experience for users. You listen to what people want, you listen to why people want it, and then you just figure out how they use it, and then you design that product for them, right? So why is UX design so important to businesses? So companies with UX designers grow 2 times as fast as companies who don't have UX designers. Having a UX designer on the team means higher customer satisfaction and more brand loyalty, which leads to increased revenue, which all companies want. So companies with UX designers actually experienced a 9,900% return on investment from having UX designers on their team, fixing their products, and having those customers be retained, right? So it is very important for companies to have UX designers on their team. Why is UX design so important for users? So UX designers make a user's life easier. Having a UX designer build products means that an app or a website will be easy to use, fun, and tailored to a user's needs. If a goal conversion rate is 5 times the amount that it normally is, having a UX designer on your team will be able to help you reach that goal. We also understand that customers are retained whenever a website or a product is actually fun or good to use, right? So think about any website or any mobile app that you've ever used. So if you have used this before, and you've gone through it and you're just like, why on earth is this like this? Why are you doing this? Or you've gone through the circles over and over again where you pressed a bunch of buttons and nothing has worked. That company likely does not have a UX designer on their team. And when those things happen to you, what do you feel, right? You feel frustrated, you feel upset, you feel like you don't actually want to use the product anymore. I can think of 3 companies with 3 different products that I absolutely hate using, and I know that they just don't have a UX designer on their team, or even a large team of UX designers to keep up with their products, right? And so companies need UX designers, people need UX designers, and with UX design, you can do a bunch of different things, right? So you can explore your own creativity, think in new ways, and create experiences people didn't even know that they wanted. You can design new technology, work with the latest emerging technologies, right? If you're someone who enjoys AR, VR, Web3, you can design all of that as a UX designer. So you can make a difference at any company, anywhere, using your flexible set of skills that you can go into each of these industries with, right? And so unlike a lot of professions nowadays, you do the one profession and that's it, right? You do it in this one industry and you never go anywhere else. With UX design, you're very flexible. You can go to any of the industries that we've talked about before. And with UX design, you can choose your own path, right? So you can, become a UX researcher, a UI designer, a game designer, anything related to design you can become as a UX designer, right? So I saw a question in the chat, would this also apply to UX researchers? Absolutely, right? Absolutely. And I think more than anything, it's really important to know that you have options, and UX design truly needs you in order to make the future a lot brighter. So the question